Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Monday morning stream. I think a lot of things to go over, so let's just jump right into it. So today's a great day, obviously. I think everybody knows that we keep hitting all-time highs after all-time highs after all-time highs. And we just take a look here. This is just the top 10. I mean, I am pretty sure Bitcoin went to around 122,000, somewhere around there. I mean, XRP, BNB, Tron is the only one that's down and across the board. Let's take a look at the top 50 as far as the last day or so. And you can see that, yeah, there's still some laggards out there, but this has been a pretty great time frame, especially for someone like Stellar over the last 7 days. XLM is up over, 83%. Ethereum is actually doing something, 18%. And wow, look at this, Hyperliquid, 22%. And I think over here, where is one of my favorites, Sui. And damn, where the heck is it? Hold on. Let's take a look here. Sui. Look at that, 36%, 12% in 24 hours, 36% over 7 days, and then over 1 year, over a year time frame, 385%. Now, it's not at its all-time high, but I think this is going to be one of the darlings of the cycle, this one in Hyperliquid. We'll see how it goes out, but things are looking good. So not only is it, we'll get to altcoins in a bit, but we have to talk about the king, which is Bitcoin, being number 5 now, as far as for all assets and companies, market caps. I mean, it is crushing it, 2.4 trillion. Apple is at 3 trillion, Microsoft 3.7, NVIDIA 3.9, and gold, which I got to tell you, I'm pretty sure at some point we are really going to start eating into the store of value narrative with gold and take away some of that market cap. But 22.5 trillion, imagine if 10% just comes over to Bitcoin, just 10%. I think you know where we're going. So as we move forward and things are going pretty great, everybody's very happy except for the short sellers. Now, if we take a look here for total liquidation markets, we can see that over time, going back to January, in green are all the longs that got liquidated, and in red is all the shorts. For quite some time, if you're just looking at this, just zooming out, you'll see that the longs were the people that were the bulls, of course, and the bears are in the red. The bulls, they were the ones that got crushed more often than the bears. The bears, yeah, they got hurt a little bit in the liquidations, but today it is totally different, and things can switch on a dime. What used to work before doesn't work all the time. We can just see that, holy smokes, 9th of July, I didn't really know this. There was almost $1 billion worth of liquidations. Well, that sucks for those guys. And then, of course, 10th of July, we had $1 billion. And then just yesterday, 13th of July, what's the date today? 14th? Should we just put this up here? 14th of July. So yesterday, you had $500 million worth of shorts because and that's just how it goes. You think it works out pretty well. You're like, there's no way we can keep going for higher highs and higher highs. But again, here we are. So unfortunately, you play around with the game and sometimes you get burnt, and I have no sympathy for you if you're doing that. That's just how it is. But I will say, this is one of those days when you can take a victory lap. You've worked very hard, and you should. And I think the one person that should take a big fat victory lap is Odell Beckham, NFL player. He took this is from Bitcoin Magazine, wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. says, so Bitcoin is an all-time high today. Safe to say we're still happy with our decision. And of course, right now, it's easy to brag and say those things. But I want to remind you that Odell Beckham didn't take his salary in Bitcoin when it was 3,000 or 10,000. This guy took his entire salary on November 12th, 2021, when Bitcoin was at 64,158. Now, you have to understand, I'm pretty sure that friends, family, loved ones, coaches, teammates, and of course the press made fun of him for quite some time when Bitcoin went down to, 40,000, 30. I think we bottomed out around 17,786. And people are like, what a moron for doing that. Well, who's laughing now? And that's really what it comes down to with all types of investments. If you just stick around and don't do too much, you usually come, well, I can't say usually, you come out ahead if you've got a pretty strong asset that you invested into. And again, it comes down to this: do less, make more. That's pretty much it. And you can be successful. So let me know what you think about that in the comments section. And then a funny thing is this story about Peter Schiff. Now, I don't know if this is true, but if it is, it's quite interesting. And I'm not going to put my entire, validation on or my reputation on saying that Peter Schiff is buying Bitcoin. But I think this is pretty interesting. This is Mike Novogratz. He is the CEO of Galaxy Digital. And he says, "Hey, Peter, why do you hate Bitcoin so much? You've been wrong on it for a decade," which is true. "A flexible mind is a healthy mind. Admit you're wrong. It's liberating. Plus, there are so many amazing stories to understand and spend your intellectual capital on. Why waste it on this?" And Patrick Lowry, who the heck is that? Patrick Lowry is the CEO. Actually, that's Mike Novogratz. He's the CEO of Samara Asset Group. He's on the board of Plasma FDN, host of Proofwords podcast. So and again, I want to make this crystal clear. He's the CEO of Samara Asset Group. And he states, Peter's fund invested in Samara's, again, I think he would know, he is the CEO of Samara Asset Group, Bitcoin bonds, end of last year. This is Euro Pacific public record that Bitcoin Magazine discovered on their own. Him hitting Bitcoin is a front so he can get exposure cheap. Now, again, I'm not going to put my entire reputation on it, but the CEO of Samara Asset Group said Peter Schiff is investing. Does this really move the needle for anything? No, it doesn't matter. Peter Schiff's just one guy. I just thought it was very interesting that the guy who's been the most vocal as far as negativity, I mean, besides Warren Buffett and a host of others, is out there going, yeah, well, on the side, we're actually going to invest into a Bitcoin bond. Anyhow, let me know what you think about that in the comment section. That's interesting. But there is one thing I will mention is this, is that Peter always would talk about, and a lot of the other people who don't understand Bitcoin or don't really get it, they have this question, which is the same question that Danica Patrick has. And she was on Robert Breedlove's podcast. And I think people are starting to wake up. And the question that she got, or that she's asked, and I think a lot of people have asked, is, well, if you can create Bitcoin, can't you just create everything else? We can create another Bitcoin very easy, right? I mean, there's all these meme coins. That makes sense because they don't get it. And without going too deep in detail, I think Robert Breedlove had a really good explanation. I want to play this. It's about a minute or so. And this is the same thing of when people are actually waking up, when they just hear simple explanations. I don't want to get into like, oh, well, it's decentralized and it's a great store of value. And of course, there's different nodes and there's node operators. And then, of course, we have Bitcoin mining and the amount of electricity that is used, which is based on the principles of Bitcoin work. I don't want to go over that. Just do stuff like this. So here, let me stop this. I want to make sure you can hear this crystal clear. Listen to this, it's about a minute. And you're going to get this question, so remember this answer.
Asking my financial advisor for me to allocate some of my wealth in that area. And he's like, look, we've put in hundreds and hundreds of hours and we just can't figure out how someone else isn't just going to go make another currency.
To say that you can just go copy paste Bitcoin and create a new one, therefore it's dilutive to Bitcoin. I think the analogy that's useful here is anyone can change the rules of chess. But when we go and campaign other people to play chess with us in the world based on our new rule set, who's going to play with us? Bitcoin is the only credibly decentralized project. It's much more like the internet itself. These internet protocols, HTTP, TCP/IP, these aren't companies. No one controls them. They're just emergent protocols that were selected for their usability that lets us move information around the world without asking permission from anyone. And Bitcoin is just kind of the latest layer in that internet protocol stack. But instead of letting us move information, we can move economic value without permission.
Yeah. So you see that what she was talking about, or what he was talking about there? And it's Danica Patrick that has to think back and go, oh, okay, so my financial advisors, they guess they really didn't put in hundreds of hours to really understand it, because this guy just explained it to me in 20 seconds, which made total sense of what these guys were telling me. And I got to tell you, that's one of the reasons why like I play stuff like this. I know some people will say, well, who gives a crap about what somebody else thinks about Bitcoin? It's because there's a wide continuum of people who are investing into Bitcoin. And I know that you get these questions before, as well as like for your friends, family, and loved ones. I always like to arm you with some information so you can just shut them up and they can just kind of do their own research, instead of them saying, hey, why do you keep throwing sand in the ocean? Why do you keep doing this? And you try to go into like this huge, massive detail like I've done before in the past. It's just easier to go, look, it's like playing a game of chess. You can go someplace and rip out a chessboard and start changing the rules. Everybody's going to follow you. No, that's not how it works. The same thing with Bitcoin. Then people go, that makes sense. That's all I'm trying to say to you. So let me know if you think that's actually good resolution for what we're talking about. And let's move on from Bitcoin to alts. Now, I have to tell you, I think there's something going on with the altcoin market. I'm not saying it's altcoin season, but there is things that are changing. This is from Validator Q. And it takes a look at the supply staked of Ethereum going back to when it went from proof of work to proof of stake. And we only had about 15%. Now we're touching almost 30%. Why is that? Well, I think it's because the ETFs are going to change their rules. They're going to be actually able to, the people that invest into Ethereum are going to actually get some yield off it. That's called cash flow. And traditional markets like that. They like dividends. They like cash flow. They like where they can get some free money. And that's essentially what's happening here with Ethereum. Now, of course, we all know this story about Robinhood. They picked Arbitrum, which is a layer 2 solution for their tokenization of real-world assets as they extend into the EU and US with perpetual futures and staking, and everybody's happy about that, especially Ethereum holders, that's for sure. But then there was a story about Tom Lee from Fundstrat, and we talked about this last week, and how they're essentially doing the MicroStrategy play where they're putting, instead of Bitcoin on their balance sheet, they're putting Ethereum. And I thought it was interesting, like 3-4 days ago, they had 250 million. Well, now they just doubled that. Bitmine just doubles Ethereum holdings to $500 million. Private placement on July 9th, 250. 3 trading days later, $500 million worth of ETH, and that's only going to go up. And that's probably one of the reasons why you see a little bit of an increase for the price action of Ethereum. And then, of course, we had other companies that stopped Bitcoin mining. They put it all in Ethereum. I think we know why. It's because there's so much competition with Bitcoin mining. It's like, we don't want to deal with it. Let's just stick with Ethereum and see how that works out. Good luck to them. I don't know. I have Ethereum, so I'm hoping it works out for them. But now we have a little story about Hedara, which I was like, this is interesting. Hedara, HBAR. And it was hard to wrap my head around. And I put this out like 24 hours ago. I was like, hey, why the hell is Hedara going up 25% in 24 hours? In 7 days, it's up like, I think it was like 50, 70% or something crazy like that. And the reason is because Hedara just partnered up with ArcXX and Lloyds Bank to enable, well, look at that, real-world assets to be used as collateral, the UK's first use of digital assets in that way. So you're probably thinking to yourself, Lloyds Bank, is that like Lloyds of London? No, it's different. And that's where I was like, well, that sucks. But do you know how big Lloyds Banking Group is? Pretty huge. Their total asset as of March 2025, Lloyds Banking Group had total assets of 1.175 trillion. This makes them one of the largest banks in Europe in terms of assets, ranking 11th largest in Europe in 2022. They have 28 million customers, employ approximately 63,000 individuals, market cap 61 billion, revenue 24 billion. It's one of the 5 large chartered banks, along with HSBC, Barclays, NatWest, and Standard Chartered. I got to tell you, that's a pretty big get for Hedara. So congratulations for all you Hedara holders. HBAR looks pretty good. We'll see how it goes. Although you wonder to yourself, it must be up massively. No, it's up. It's down 1.5% over the last 24 hours. Why is that? Well, that's in 7 days. I don't want that. Wow, 7 days, 48%. It's pretty good. In 24 hours, it's down. Why? It's because all the insiders who knew about this pumped it like crazy, and they're taking profits right now. So, or it's people who have been holding Hedara, and I can see you in the comment section, and they're like, you know what? I'm tired of this. I'm going to take some profits because it pumped at 50% or whatever else it was over 7 days. But now you know why. So maybe something to look into, not for sure, looking good. And lastly, I will just say this. congratulations, everybody who has been investing into assets. I saw this and I was talking about it yesterday. I don't know who's from the United States. Statistically speaking, roughly 48% of you who are in the chat, who are subscribers, are United States or live in the United States. I just want you to know that the different investments that are out there, if you're not investing into assets, you're screwed, really, because I just saw this and I was blown away at how much it costs for a house in the US. Did you know that the average cost in San Jose, I mean, this is the largest. The average cost, a medium priced home in San Jose costs $1.6 million, which means this is the salary you need to afford that house. $373,000. San Francisco, $282,000. Portland, Oregon, $136,000. Salt Lake City, Utah, $122,000. Denver, $150,000. You got to have a lot of money. Unless you want to move to like Oklahoma City, $62,000. Indianapolis, $71,000. And some of, like, I don't know what people's salaries are these days, but this seems pretty big. $50,000 for Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania is probably the lowest, in Buffalo, New York. And those prices are only going to go up because of inflation, because of the cost of labor, because of everything else. And again, I feel sorry for the people that don't understand that they have to invest into assets, because those are the ones that are really appreciated, as opposed to just saving the dollars or whatever fiat currency in their banks and just watching it melt like an ice cube. Shame. Anyhow, that's it for today. Like today's video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, all that great stuff. Now we'll do a quick Q&A and answer all your questions, and we'll go from there. Uzi says, just rent. It's okay. Yeah, I think renters like ourselves, we do short-term and long-term rentals. I mean, the short-term market pretty much keeps up with everything if you do an Airbnb or Vrbo. But the long-term rentals, they kind of have a little bit of a lagger, especially as the taxes go up on properties. And then once you have tax properties on go up, then of course the rents get raised. And over time, it's renters feel the squeeze. However, if it was me right now, I would probably rent and I wouldn't buy because the interest rates are high. I think houses are massively overpriced, and I would just rent and then save that money and put it into assets. That doesn't have to be Bitcoin. That could be whatever it could be gold and silver. It could be traditional equities. It could be land. I don't know. It's whatever you want to do. Let's see. I invest in hard assets. I'm all AI and crypto. AI is a pretty good sector. If you were investing into NVIDIA, I think you're doing pretty good today. I mean, I think you're going to do it good in the next 10 years or so. And there's also different projects as far as the AI sector in crypto. I think my biggest holding, I think, would be I have some Fetch AI, but also Aether, AETHIR. I think it's like ranked 200 or so. I think that'll do pretty well. Who knows? But that's just my bag. You need 15 Bitcoins to buy a house in New York. Actually, that's pretty low if you think about it. 15 Bitcoin, which is roughly, $200 and something thousand. Imagine how many Bitcoins you would need 10 years ago to buy that house. First of all, the house was lower, but you'd need thousands, or at least hundreds, I would say. So if we're taking a look at inflation, I think that's a bigger thing for people. If they're asking you about Bitcoin, just say, I could probably buy a house on, with 3 Bitcoin today. 15 Bitcoin. I'm sorry. That was almost $1.8 million. That's sad. Yeah, but right now, 3 Bitcoin can get you a reasonable house across the country. I know some people say that's too low. Maybe 5, maybe 6, whatever you live. I don't care. But yeah, take a look at how many Bitcoin you would need, 10 years ago. Awful. Rob, so you own some HBAR? Very little. It's like insignificant dust in my portfolio. I bought some after I talked to the HBAR bull, and I thought, this could be something to get into, but I don't dollar cost average it every day. It's not a big, huge, massive thing in my portfolio. It's very, 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 very small. I just thought it was an interesting story because like we see these tokenization of real world assets and the same thing keeps getting said. We hear about Ethereum, we hear about layer 2 solutions, we hear about Tron as far as like with stable coins. We hear about Solana because they are actually their tokenization of equities, using it through Kraken. And I think there was some other place that they were doing it as well. Oh, they were doing it on their DEXs, which sure. And then this one came up, HBAR. I'm like, that's a pretty big story. I mean, this is a pretty massive crypto being used for real world assets. Let's see. Calls my alts turn to dust. Yeah. Yeah. Marcel says rent and the money you save by the Bitcoin dips. True. Like I'll tell you, I'm done with real estate for quite some time. I know everybody who's been here for a while knows my story. In 2020, we bought a condo, which is like 5 blocks from the beach over in Puerto Rico. Great place, you know, 5 blocks away from the beach, did really well for as far as cash flow. That was in end of 2020. It was $180,000, paid cash for it. And Bitcoin's around $10,000. If I would have taken that same $10,000 and not bought that condo, I would have had I would have bought all Bitcoin. That's 18 Bitcoin. Let's do some math. Which one was better? Yeah. So Frito. Condado, it was down the street from Condado. Yeah, not too bad. Once Bitcoin becomes scarce on exchanges, we see a massive price increase. Ah, yes. The elusive supply shock, which I've been hearing about since 2017, although it might be happening right now. I mean, there was, if you take a look at the ETFs, and we talked about this with me and Jerry yesterday, I was kind of blown away. I didn't know it was that much. Well, this is the Ethereum ETFs. And you can see who's buying the most is BlackRock. Except for the 2nd of July, they sold 46. Just one day, they're like, we're going to sell 46 million worth of the Ethereum ETF. And then after that, their customers are buying. And then 10th of July, 300 million. That's a big one. And then 11th of July, which was Friday. Who knows what's going to happen today? But I'm going to tell you, I think there's going to be some pretty big inflows. And then, but this is the big story, the Bitcoin flow. Look at that. All BlackRock. And this was the one on Friday. Almost $1 billion. And that always, it always astounds me that when BlackRock, because again, BlackRock's not buying. It's the customers of BlackRock that are buying, correct? So you're telling me that all these different customers just one day are like, hey, we should buy about $1 billion worth of the ETFs. Their investment advisors must be working overtime. Just saying. Silver stud, XRP to 10K. Sure, if everybody has $1 quadrillion or something, sure. Yeah, Laxmar says rip Waymo, Uber, Lyft, and Zoox, Tesla. Yeah, those robotaxis looking pretty good. And I know Waymo, I don't think they're going to be able to keep up with the production of those driverless cars. I don't know. I have some Tesla stock, so hope it does well. We'll find out. First bit of support I'm seeing is at 119. I think we're going to go for another roller coaster ride. Sure, why not? And then Master says there's only so many Bitcoin and buying exchanges available. Once a big player comes in and buys it all, watch out. That's actually true. Waymo can't scale. Short Bitcoin, long ETH, I would not recommend that. That's not for me to say. That's for somebody who's like really good at trading and stuff like that. Have you ever been to Finland? I have not. Bitcoin to 140K. Let's just leave it there. What a great way to end the show. So Frankie has a price prediction, 140K. You know my price prediction, somewhere between whatever it is. Actually, it's between $5 and $500,000, somewhere in between there. But again, just you do less and you make more. Just keep stacking it over time. Things will work itself out. And that's it for today. So look, like, subscribe, all that great stuff. I'm trying to keep things a little bit quicker so people can get out of here. But thanks so much, everybody. I appreciate you guys stopping by. I'll see you guys on the next one. Have a great rest of your day.